their season hung in the balance for about 12, 14 hours before they got the news back about Butler's what was feared to be an ACL injury. It looked pretty bad at the time, but it turns out that it wasn't an ACL injury. It was a meniscus tear. So it's a 4 to 6 week recovery. As I said, compared to an ACL where he's going to miss the entire season, it's good news.
Yeah,
but
still,
he's their captain. He's clearly now, to start with, there was probably feeling out a little bit of who is the best player on this team, because Karl Anthony Towns is obviously an all-star and a budding superstar, and we know how good Wiggins is, but Butler's clearly the go-to man now. He's having a great season, 22 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, but it's more what he does defensively, which we know they're not that great at, and also just in the clutch as well. I mean, he's huge. He's a big-time shot maker. He's third in the league in fourth quarter points per game. Yeah. So
first on the team for the Timberwolves in points, field goal attempts, steals, and minutes.
Yep. Third in rebounds, second in assists as well.
Yeah, so he's right up there.
He's a huge part to that team. And, I mean, just looking, when Butler's on the floor, the Wolves outscore opponents by just under 8 points per 100 possessions. When he's off it, they're outscored by just under 9 points. Yeah. Now, those kind of net ratings are a bit shaky stat, but when it's that much of a difference, that's the biggest on-court, off-court difference between any All-Star this year. So that shows how important he is to their team. And the thing for the Timberwolves is, I mean, right now they're in the 3rd seed. I mean, they've got a great record, 38-26, but there's only one loss separating them and the Clippers in the 9th seed. That's how tight it is. So, like, a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and you could go from 3rd to 9th.
Yeah, overnight. And they're not going to climb any further.
No, they're not going to catch up to Houston or the Warriors.
3rd and 4th spaces in the Western Conference
are up for grabs, that home court advantage in the first round.
And especially now with the Spurs, which we'll touch on later, with Kawhi out. Can the Timberwolves and Spurs 3 and 4 hold those spots? And
I mean, they have won their first 2 games without him, but it was against the Bulls and the Kings, who are engaged in a tankathon. So
look, the Wolves will be fine if they play Sacramento.
Yeah, every game of the year. Yeah. But unfortunately, their next 8 are all against teams with a winning record. They got Trailblazers, Jazz, Celtics, Warriors, Wizards, Spurs, Rockets, Clippers.
That's tough.
You drop like 6 of 8 of those, and suddenly
easily.
And you also look at those games, and a couple of those games are against teams that are also in the race for the 3rd and 4th spot in the West. So basically, they lose those games. They lose a game against them against a team like Portland, who they're just 2 games in front of at the moment.
Yep, and I mean,
things up.
Pressure's now on Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. I mean, as good as these guys are, last year without Jimmy Butler, they finished nearly 13th in the West or something. They only managed 31 wins for the entire season. I mean, Butler's really the one piece of Jeff Teague, a few other little changes, but Butler's been the one who's taken them from a team that's struggling to even, get over 30 wins to a team that's could be top 4.
Well, we saw in the game against Sacramento, they had 6 players in double figures, scoring in double figures. 5 of them were the starters. So it's how far can they push that? And also, good point. How much of this injury do you put on Tom Thibodeau?
Well, generally people do say that the meniscus and that ACL injury is a wear and tear injury. I think there's got to be something to it. And I mean, we know Butler sat out the All-Star game. Yeah. Whether that was rest or whether it was a too big of a weekend. But
he leads the league in minutes.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
And if you look at Tom Thibodeau's record, Derrick Rose, Zach LaVine, now Jimmy Butler. You could look at Luol Deng and Joakim Noah, who are still pretty young, but you can see the wear and tear has really put them down.
You just look at the minutes for the Timberwolves at the moment, and they've got their 5 starters who are all playing over 33 minutes, and then there's no other player on the roster playing 20 minutes or more a game.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. And they have that bench like Jamal Crawford.
Well, Jamal Crawford's probably the 6th highest, and then Tyus Jones, Gorgie Jeng, even Shabazz Muhammad's only 9.4 minutes a game this season. So
that's insane. And they have the top 15 players in the league. Wiggins, Towns, and Butler are all in the top 15.
Yeah,
you got Butler number 1, Wiggins 14, and then Towns in 15. It's too much. Yeah,
it's way too much,
especially on Towns and Wiggins who are younger.
I mean, Thibodeau often just plays an 8 or 9 man rotation. He's not Even when it's in garbage time, he's still got them out there. It's like, why? Like, this is just wear and tearing and causing these injuries. I mean, we know that Karl Anthony Towns can carry this team to an extent because of how good he is. As I said, we're yet to see if he can do it in the playoffs because they haven't been there for 13 seasons. But, I mean, he's had a great year, just over 20 points. He's nearly 50, 40, 90. So he's over 50% from field goal, over 40 from three, and he's 86% from the line.
So he'll probably lose that with the extra production.
Which for a center is pretty incredible, and averaging over 12 boards as well. He's had the most double-doubles of anyone this season by a country mile. Pretty much gets one every single night.
Walking double-double.
Wiggins is he's the unknown potential, the unknown quantity. He looks so good, but then at times we just don't see it. I mean, he's down almost 6 points from last season in his average, but a lot of that's to do with Butler. How much of a chance is he getting? But he still hasn't exploded onto the scene as lots of people thought he would. Lots of people said this guy's the next LeBron. Like, he had
a couple years back.
Not now, but when he entered the league. And I mean, he just signed a 5-year, $148 million contract extension. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, it's still one of those ones where you have to wait and see. We don't know. He's still pretty young.
He is young, but it's just some of the, like, shooting 63% from the line, those kind of things generally indicate, like, your free throw shooting generally indicates your level of quality as a shooter because it's a non-pressured shot, like, it's not that hard, and that's not great. Like, there's a few things. He's never been that great from three, and he just hasn't developed. A lot of people, when he came out of college, were like, oh, this guy's going to be an insane defender, but he hasn't really. I mean, we know Karl Anthony Towns can have some bad lapses as well. Their whole team outside of Butler can have some bad lapses. But, yeah, he hasn't developed as much as I think people thought he would.
So would you put that on the Wolves as much as himself? Or
I think it's a bit of both. It's still his responsibility, but I don't think that he's clearly not getting anywhere near the best out of his team defensively, which I think's got to have an impact eventually. But overall, I said they're in the third seed now, but they're only one game back on the loss columns from 9th seed.
Yeah.
Can you see them, holding on to their home court advantage in the first round in that top four? Or could you even potentially see them falling out of the playoffs?
I don't think they'll fall out of the playoffs. I wouldn't go that far.
Safe there.
But I don't see them in the top four.
Who's going to take their spot? Thunder?
That's even harder to pick.
You literally just don't know. I think the Spurs will fight. Like, they'll always find a way, even if they don't get Kawhi back in time. Like,
Popovich is just that good.
They just always find a way to get one of those top four spots. And then probably just a team like Portland, even New Orleans, the way they've been playing. Like, I don't know if Anthony Davis can sustain the level that he's been playing at, but and just Oklahoma, you can't really count them out at any point because they've just got so much talent, and you can't really discount them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Brownie, do you think they'll top four still, or they're going to fall out?
They've got a tough stretch of games with their Jimmy Butler.
The next 8 games,
they've got a lot of people chasing their tail.
Yeah,
they cannot fault one fault, and they could easily drop to 5th, 6th.
I mean, if they drop 6 of those 8 or something, there'll be 10 to 15 games left. They're going to really struggle with how close it is.